Hey everyone, I mentioned having the desire to upload more stuff to this channel in my last video. Really, it's to fulfill a desire to leave something behind in this world, even if it's small. I'm sure a lot of you have that wish as well. Throughout my life and since my break from YouTube, I still ingest different forms of entertainment while balancing college, my social life, and everything else. I've had a love for video games in particular ever since I was a kid. The cool thing about it is that my tastes morph over time and I can find different reasons to appreciate games. I've played some great games since my break. Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door, Omori, and Valhalla are some recent ones that I've really enjoyed. And hey, right now I'm playing Super Mario RPG, a cult favorite for many people. I'm enjoying it a good bit thus far. That being said, some games that I play now probably wouldn't have entertained a younger me. The dialogue and adventure of games like Paper Mario probably would have bored me compared to something like Mario Sports Mix, where action and gameplay were more of the focus. The more I age, the more it seems as if I wish to be transported into the games that I'm playing. I want to be able to feel the emotions of the characters, to place myself in the shoes of the one I'm controlling, and to fully escape the hardships of our reality. My favorite games out of all that I've played usually end up being about the experience rather than the game itself, if that makes sense. I didn't mention one game that I played recently that did pretty damn well in this regard. That game would be Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight is the first Metroidvania game that I played, and it's also home to the character I want to appreciate in this video. A Metroidvania is a genre of game that borrows many mechanics from games like Metroid and Castlevania, which is where it got its name from. These types of games usually have an interconnected world which the player inhabits, promoting exploration. For example, there are many parts in Hollow Knight which you cannot access without first obtaining a certain power-up. This makes the player explore different areas while keeping in mind what they have already explored. It really is rewarding to come back to an area after not being able to access it for so long and experiencing something new from it. Hollow Knight in particular has a great focus on atmosphere. The art is really pretty, and I also personally love the music of this game, especially when it uses the piano. And if you haven't played Hollow Knight before, the interconnected world feels huge. There are so many different areas to discover and explore. The world being so big is suffocating in itself and can reflect on the real world. I find the main character of Hollow Knight to be particularly relatable, which is strange because it's a silent character. Maybe it's the world around the knight that makes me so empathetic towards its quest. I mean, so many of the bosses you face and people you meet seem so big and often cruel. Plus, there are enemies scattered everywhere that are void of any soul, designed only to attack the knight. It's like the entire world of Hallownest seems to be filled with despair and gloom. That being said, not everyone is hostile to the knight, and there's one character that I particularly really like that always seemed neutral but friendly in nature. That character's name is Quirrel. Now, when I first played Hollow Knight, I was in somewhat of a tough spot in my life. I woke up feeling completely isolated from the world, and I went to sleep the same way. I felt like no one would understand my specific issues. I felt a lot of guilt, and I was simply unhappy. I felt so alone. Just as Hollow Knight's world can be, the real world is certainly suffocating. But sometimes all you need to get you back in order is someone to relate to. Someone who can keep you optimistic. Someone who goes through the same journey that you do. The reason why I like Quirrel from Hollow Knight so much is because Quirrel represents that person to me. Quirrel makes small appearances throughout this long, tough game, but I found myself happy to see him every time. Quirrel is this upbeat adventurer who goes through a very similar journey to the knight. You just so happen to run into him while exploring similar areas, and he's always up to chat a little before you split ways once again. Quirrel isn't some spectacular, crazy-looking explorer. He's just Quirrel. But to me, Quirrel represents so much more than just your average acquaintance. He isn't cocky, he isn't rude, he doesn't act like he has it all figured out. He's just your average upbeat dude. In Hollow Knight, you can appreciate Quirrel. In the real world, you need a Quirrel. Someone who doesn't look down on you or up to you. A simple, neutral, untainted connection between two people on a tough journey. For me, there are those small, beautiful moments in games that can make you sit back in your chair or tear up. I had one personal moment where I experienced something like this in Hollow Knight, and it involves Quirrel. After struggling through many bosses and enemies in the game, and struggling through my own demons in real life, it's nice to be able to find a point to sit down and relax. In the game, I found myself in this large city where it constantly poured rain while a somber melody played in the background. I couldn't help but appreciate the beauty of the world I was transported to, especially after so many tough fights. Desperate to find a place to heal, I made my way into this room with a large glass window where raindrops are sounding, and right there, taking a rest on a bench himself, was the one going through a similar journey as me. I pause, smile, and sit down on the bench right next to him, curious as to how his journey has been. He peeks over his shoulder and notices me. The camera pans to the right, and I can't help but sit back in my chair and take it all in. And that is why Quirrel from Hollow Knight is one of my personal favorites.